You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
Another busy week of Tigers basketball is in the books. We look back at games against Alabama and Texas A&M, sit down with the assistant coaches, and look ahead to the start of conference play. It's The Penny Hardaway Show. Let's go.
The game is on.
The Penny Hardaway Show is presented by Cook's Pest Control. You don't have to live with pests. Call Cook's Pest Control and get a free quote today. Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams. Tiger Bookstore, the official merchandiser of Tiger Athletics. AutoZone, when you've got car trouble, you want help from number one. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone, and is supported by your Memphis area Toyota dealers.
The SEC beat rolls on for the Memphis Tigers. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Enfield. On this edition of the Penny Hardaway Show, David Dock sit down with all the new assistants this year. But first, let's check out the highlights from Alabama at Texas A&M. The first game of the week, a doozy. Tigers traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on number 4 Alabama. Pick this up second half. Chandler Lawson earning honors as Defensive Player of the Week. Picks his man's pocket ahead to DeAndre Williams, who throws down a grown man's jam plus the foul. Tigers cutting the lead to within a bucket. Memphis would not go away, and that was thanks in large part to our outstanding performance of the week. Kendrick Davis showing why he's a superstar. 30 points in this one. That bucket gets U of M within 3. Bama just had a little too much firepower. Brandon Miller looking like a future lottery pick. 3 of his team-high 24 points coming right here. Great effort by the Tigers. Comes up just short as the Tide come out on top, 91-88. Back at home for a Saturday showcase against Texas A&M on Beale Street. Second half of this one was wacky. Aggies within 2. Great ball movement leads to Williams finishing the alley-oop layup. Tigers up 65-61. A&M just wouldn't go away. Down by 1 with just over 3 to play. And now up by 1 as Julius Marble banks this one home. 69-68 Aggies. Not to worry because the Tigers had the answer courtesy of their 2 leaders. Davis probing inside to Williams for the hoop plus the harm. He missed the free throw, but Memphis takes the lead back. Biggest bucket of the night, Elijah McCadden. Right place, right time for the putback. Game took nearly 3 hours. Tigers prevail 83-79. They go 4-1 against the SEC this season and improve to 9-3 overall.
Coach, let's start off by welcoming you to Memphis. Great to have you here. Now, you were an assistant coach when you were younger, and then you were a coach at Missouri and Miami and Tulsa. Back to being an assistant. Is that a weird thing?
It's not weird. It's different. Obviously, spending time in that other seat for a long time and then coming back to the other seat. At some point in time, sitting in that chair, I was like, I want to get away from that chair for a little bit. And this was a good opportunity for me to do that with someone I respect and absolutely think is a star in the game, and something that I felt like I could do, I could help.
Why Memphis and Penny other than the respect factor?
When the time with Tulsa, when we separated ways, I still own my home in Miami. So I went to Miami for a little bit, and I'm not as good a golfer as Penny, but I started hitting the links a little bit and doing some other things, and after about a month, I said, man, I can't do this that long. I got to get back into it. But Penny was just the respect factor, but also just watching how he's grown in the business and what he has done, coming from where he's come to get to where he's at and competing against him. It was a no-brainer for me to have an opportunity to work with someone like Coach and how he played. I watched their team and I wanted to pick something up from my resume in terms of growing some areas too.
Tell us, what is the difference in that perspective? How different is it now to be that assistant? What do you hope to accomplish there?
Well, obviously you make suggestions. You don't, a lot of times in that other chair, and the things that I talked to Penny about coming here was, I'm willing to help any way I can, and my experience of 30 plus years in this game, 18 years as a head coach, I can do a lot. in terms of I've seen a lot. And, some people like to put labels on coaches in terms of what you are. You're a recruiter, you're an X and O guy, and then some people say I'm a zone coach. I'm a basketball coach, and I have the ability, I think, to help in a lot of areas. And that's what I wanted to do. I want to help whatever Penny wanted me to help him with. I want to be able to do that for him.
How important is it for you all to have their relationship and you to know that you have a voice and Penny listens to you and hears you and can, implement some of the things that you suggest?
I've been to the mountaintop. I've coached in the Big 12, ACC, SEC. I have no, I wanted to help. I wanted to serve. I wanted to do things to try to help him get to that point where he wants to win a national championship. And that he spoke very candidly about his passion to win a national championship. And that excited me. I want to be with someone to have that vision and to have that, passion, want to cut down those nets, to play on that Monday and cut down those nets. And I think we have all the things in place to do that here.
You mentioned zone defense. I'm guilty. When I think of Frank Haith, I think of that matchup zone.
So you label me too. There you go.
Yeah. It's tough. I was glad when you came here for that very reason.
Yeah.
What makes that so good? What are your principles?
The funny thing about it is I play just as much man as zone. But that's the thing that people points to because you don't know whether we were in man or zone half the time. And when Penny and I started talking about the combination of both, it was, some of the principles he have in his man defense coincide with what we do with our zone. That's what's going to make it special. And we haven't dove into it that much yet because Penny's so good defensively, guys. I'm telling you. He's taught me a lot with his low man and nail concepts. And based on where the ball goes, whether it's high post or low post, we could go man, we could go back zone, and it varied from game to game. So it was a scouting thing that I think made it effective.
How frustrating is it to get that label sometimes and your brain is bigger than that?
It's not frustrating because if you look at my career, I didn't start playing zone until I got to Tulsa, and the reason I did it was because I didn't think I could get the talent at Tulsa, and that was kind of the equalizer. I didn't think I could get the personnel that some of the teams like at that time, UConn, or Memphis or Cincinnati. And that was, I felt like we needed something to be a neutralizer to put us on the level with those guys. And that kept us in the upper half of the league. So I dabbed with it a little bit at Miami, a little bit at Missouri, but I really didn't do it till Tulsa. So I've done all the other stuff. I've pressed a little bit, not as much as Penny, but I've done obviously a lot of man-to-man. But offensively, my team in Missouri was #1 points per possession in the country. So I've been able to do what it needs to be done to win.
When you look at the makeup of this team, what do you see as the potential?
Well, I see a team that is what Penny's all about, defensive-minded. They can really, really guard. And once we get our flow offensively, you're going to see this team take off. I think we're older. We don't have a lottery pick on this team, obviously, and Penny's had a bunch of those since he's been here. But we've got a lot of really good, solid players. And I say this all the time, defense travels. If you can defend, you always give yourself a chance. And our offense will catch up to our defense. You'll see that with this team as we progress.
We just heard from Frank Haith, and coming up next on the Penny Hardaway Show, we hear from the other two assistants on the staff. Stick with us.
You're watching the Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
Welcome back to the Penny Hardaway Show. Before Faraji Phillips coached with Penny Hardaway, he coached against him. David Dock sit down with the assistant coach to get perspective on both experiences.
Faraji, I guess we should welcome you back to Memphis. Of course, you've been here in the high school ranks on a lot of different fronts for a long, long time. You coached against Penny when you had left Mitchell to go to Whitehaven. He was at East High School. Like, who got the better of who in that thing?
Well, it's safe to say he's one up me with that series. So, but great competition, great times. The city would just literally shut down when we played each other, Whitehaven versus East, and just amazing times back then.
And then you actually coached together too, right? in the grassroots, in the AAU.
Yeah,
circuit.
we coached together. I think it was James Wiseman on that team, but yeah, we coached together with that summer. Really good ball club. But again, really, really special times coaching with him during that time. AAU basketball, EYBL, nothing like it.
First of all, Faraji, Coach Phillips, man, congratulations. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
We go back a long ways, man. Been knowing you and your family forever. And I was telling Waldo, and I like to tell everybody, I got so much respect for you, man, because my oldest daughter, Marshana, when we were at Lanier Middle School,
Yeah.
you were her coach, soccer coach.
Oh, yeah,
And you had never coached soccer ever.
Yeah.
And you led those young Royals to a championship, man, beating teams like White Station, who they had people that played soccer. Just talk about that experience.
Man, it was, oddly enough, during that time, I was just starting to coach middle school basketball, right? And so just getting the coaching bug. And the principal comes in my class one day and said, I want you to start up a soccer team, a soccer program. I said, who, me? I've never played soccer, don't know nothing about it. And so the word got out that we were having a soccer team, and girls showed up in the gym for tryouts. And I don't know what tryouts look like. I just knew, you probably had to be fast, athletic, and wanted to be coached. And so had about 15 girls show up. And sure enough, Marshana, his daughter, was one of them. And to make a long story short, we ended up winning the city championship that year, beat Cordova, I think, in the semifinals, and White Station in the finals championship. One of my most proudest moments.
Now, being here, talk about your role here with Penny, man, coming back, working with Penny and being around those young men.
Well, he and I have a tremendous relationship. Obviously, we've known each other for quite some time, having played, basketball pickup around the city when he was home for the summers. And that's how our relationship grew. And then obviously, us being in this coaching profession at the same time and just putting our minds together and kind of dibbling and dabbling with what we would do in certain situations when we were at East and I was at Whitehaven. And so, we just grew together as brothers, and it's been tremendous. I'm just here to help him in any way possible that I can. With whatever he needs, game preparation, practice preparation, just corralling the guys. And, because I look with this transfer portal, it's a different dynamic with college basketball right now. So a lot of what we do is trying to manage egos and trying to get guys to coexist, to have, what we all want to have, our players to kind of have that buy-in. So that's why I've been very helpful.
But what is it that you bring to the table, to this mix with all the coaches, that you really help Penny with?
I think defensively, I have a really, good idea of what he wants to accomplish defensively as a team. What each player can bring to the team as it pertains to defense. So I think defensively, that's what I can kind of have my value. And then also just energy every day. Energy in practice, energy and just any way possible, because he's high up on having energy. And then also just having that mesh between new guys and new staff and him. What are the do's and don'ts? What does he like? What does he doesn't like? So that's kind of been my, my most important value that I bring to the program right now.
And last but not least, we sit down with Andy Borman, and it's safe to say that high-level coaching is in his blood.
Andy, let's start. Welcome to Memphis. We all know that your uncle is very famous. That's Mike Krzyzewski. So we know you've been around basketball your entire life. What is your connection to Penny, and how did you get to Memphis?
Before I came here, I ran a program in the EYBL, which is a Nike-sponsored, youth league for the best players in the country out in New York, the New York Renaissance. And actually, my first year running that program, we played Coach Hardaway in the Elite Eight at Peach Jam, which is kind of Nike's crown jewel. And it hurts to admit that he beat us, but we gave him a run for their money. So that was the first time that I met Coach Hardaway, is actually coaching against him. And then obviously he came here and I stayed running the Wrens, and, we kind of got to know each other, through that process. And then obviously ended up here, getting a chance to work with him is incredible.
And what was the final selling point to take this job here with Penny in Memphis? Or was it a selling point? He reaches out, you want to work here, you're like, oh yeah, I'm there. So what made you make that decision and want to come here and be with me?
Yeah, it was, I think it was really kind of like getting to know each other. I think I was probably recruiting him more so, and just talking to him about, wanting to be a team player. I was a walk-on in college, and so since then I'm still a walk-on, and that mentality, is really, you do whatever it takes to make the team better, right? And that role can change, game to game, week to week, but that's always how I was raised. That's how I played in college. And that's actually how I've coached after college, whether I was in charge of my own program or an assistant within another. And I think something about that may have, caught his attention. But that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm excited to be here.
That kind of mentality, not only do you bring it to the coaching staff, I'm pretty sure you can instill some of that into these players. Always work hard and be appreciative and work for everything that you get.
I think that mentality can kind of be a positive and a negative, I would guess, from the player's perspective, because you're teaching them what you spoke about, which is just do what's needed. But at the same time, it's hard for me to have sympathy. Every single team I was on at Duke, and we were fortunate enough to win a championship and go to another Final Four, I didn't decide a single game on the court. It was my job to try to make them ready. And that was my job. And I think if you do that and can buy into it, then everybody wins. If you can't buy into it, it's a pretty lonely road. That's how I was taught, right? Growing up, in the Duke family, I'd spend Thanksgivings and Christmases, shooting hoops with Cherokee Parks and Christian Laettner and those guys, like playing horse and, just having fun. But it also, that's kind of in my blood. Betterment of the team over everybody. I don't know any other way. And I think every coach here kind of feels the same way.
It's almost the time of the year we've all been waiting for, AAC play. We'll preview that after the break.
You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control. Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
Well, first of all, it'll be a great homecoming for Tony Medlock. So proud of him for being the head coach at Alabama State. My former teammate and worked here with me at the university. The Alabama State game is going to be a good game for us because it's a team that we can't overlook before we get into conference play. And we're going to fight and we're going to battle and have a good time at the same time. Yeah, everything that we've done thus far in non-conference is built for conference. So going into conference, we want to be locked in and get off to a great start. We want to go undefeated in conference, and we have a great chance of doing that. Well, I think ourselves, honestly, we can't get complacent. The games that we're supposed to win, we have to win. And when we play Houston at Houston, Cincinnati is another formidable foe. Also, Tulane, having their entire team back. I mean, we're not disrespecting anyone else, but you're looking at Cincinnati, you're looking at a Tulane team that returned everyone, and of course, Houston.
That was tonight's AutoZone Road Ahead. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination and official sponsor of Tiger Athletics. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Gotta think the Tigers have a great shot at that conference crown this year. We'll put a bow in this show. Coming up next.
You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next Sunday.
The Penny Hardaway Show is presented by Cook's Pest Control. You don't have to live with pests. Call Cook's Pest Control and get a free quote today. Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams. Tiger Bookstore, the official merchandiser of Tiger Athletics. AutoZone, when you've got car trouble, you want help from #1. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone, and is supported by your Memphis area Toyota dealers.
This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Learfield.